And good morning, everyone. My name is Wade Bergquist. I'm the founder of Omnia Digital Media and your host for Take Flight, where we are always talking with experts in charge of change. And on today's show, we have a very unique guest. His name is Dr. Kianor Shah. And not only is he a dental expert, I consider him a visionary with regard to his ability to look at various professions from a financial platform as well. And with that, he is also the CEO of Peer United. And so, Dr. Shaw, welcome to Take Flight. We're very glad to have you.
Hello, Wade. Thank you for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure, most definitely. Now, I do want to jump right in because we have a fair amount to cover. You're a very interesting guy, number one. You have a lot of professional hats that you wear, and your educational background is very impressive as well. So, as it pertains to your dental expertise and your entrepreneurial ability, I wanted you to talk to our viewers about how you got started and what's your motivation for really utilizing your skill set.
I'm a general dentist, and I focus my clinical practice in endodontics, oral surgery, implantology. Having grown up in Germany, I spent about 15 years in Illinois doing my undergrad and dental school, and had owned several practices there. After a while, I decided to sell those and get into learning more of the specialties in dentistry, which would allow me to become a traveling dentist. So over the course of a few years of traveling to many facilities, I had the opportunity to interact with my colleagues and really gain a deeper understanding of their challenges today. And after that, meanwhile, I was doing an MBA part-time because I realized that we don't learn as much in business in our professional schools. And I wanted to take that knowledge and pass it on to as many healthcare providers and professionals as I can so they can remain competitive and independent.
Very nice. Now, and that's what's interesting is that a number of years ago, probably 10 years ago, I used to work for Ormco, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Phenomenal company, the very best with regard to appliances. And we were, in essence, showcasing the Damon system at the time. That's where my focus was. But you hit the nail on the head, I think, because so many orthodontists, and I talked to a number of dentists too, where they were always looking for insight how to run a practice more efficiently. Don't get me wrong, their expertise was top notch, but they had questions even for me from time to time as to make sure they're having the best information delivered to them as it pertains to their industry as well, not just their practice. So I think a gentleman like yourself has a very unique look on the industry, and you're always looking out for the best interest of your colleagues as well, which is really refreshing.
That's correct. You see, professionals are so busy with their lives, their families, their practices, trying to stay compliant with regulation, meeting their financial obligations that we don't really see or are aware of what's happening around us. So it's very important that we increase our business acumen and essentially be able to compete with larger entities that have this leveraged purchasing power. And this is the goal. We can do it on a smaller scale because our colleagues can be a lot more involved in communities versus the giants of industry. So we do have a competitive advantage if we utilize it properly in commerce.
Yeah, and that makes good sense. And Edwin Dearborn was on the show a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying that so many business owners, and this includes dentists, orthodontists, they're consistently working, in their business, but they have a difficult time just for the simple fact there's not enough time in the day to work on their business. So again, I wanted to jump into the peer united aspect of your entrepreneurial vision and how that is helping your um, your peer group and your colleagues as well.
Peer United is a three-pronged approach. It's an administrative, academic, and a financial approach to the problem. And our idea is that if we brought our colleagues together, we are in a better position to be in competition with the other bigger groups. I always joke about this way because about 20 miles down the road, everybody in my profession feels threatened by a colleague down the street, which is not truly the threat to our profession. And beyond the 20 miles, they're all friends. If we can somehow manage, and this is what other third parties and guests in our profession take advantage of. If we actually are in a position to bring those guys together and actually utilize our resources, there's plenty of business out there for us. We are not particularly at competition, even when saturated in different areas. But the fact of the matter is that this illusion prevents us from coming together and working together and being able to achieve what we need to achieve. So a three-pronged approach: academic, administrative, and financial. We love continuing education. We love coming together at symposia. We love coming together in local events and interchange information. That's always been there. Then there's so this is one area where we can start being more involved and not base those meetings on sponsorship for another company or a product, but for what we're really trying to do for those that we serve in our practices and our businesses as professionals. Another issue is the finance. As mentioned earlier, you will not find a curriculum in these professional schools that really truly teach you how things work in the real life. And we need to increase the acumen of the junior guys. The senior guys learn it themselves over the years, and by the time they're getting closer to retirement, they really got it down on what needs to be done. But the junior guys suffer. As a consequence, they go and work for these corporations. They come out with huge debt. They're being promised all of these things that really never actualize and materialize. And we need to empower them. And the way you empower or increase access to care or improve a profession is by empowering the professional, not by lobbyists and politicians and legislatures. Even when sincere, they're not trained to adequately solve our problems. The professions will improve if the problems in that profession are solved by its constituents. Hence, we are in the business of empowering professionals.
And the simple fact, your inspiration and your logic behind Peer United and looking out for the best interest of your colleagues. When you got out of dental school, are you looking around at that time going, wow, there's a few things that are going on in the dental industry that I know that can be done better. We can be more financially secure long term. And like you had mentioned, like gentlemen who are, looking at retiring, they have it down, but right out of the gate is such an important part of a dental professional's career. That's going to set the foundation, which I like that aspect of Peer United for sure.
Well, about 4 decades ago, these management groups and other guests in our professions didn't really exist. They came around, they fought their way through with lobbyists and changing the opinion of the public and legislature. And in reality, these kids come out of school and join them. They get promised to work, and all the management aspect of things are being kept with the management group. But the mere fact of it is that healthcare is a business, and the business and the aspects of clinical things, they go hand in hand. You cannot separate the two, because there is going to be some conflict of fiduciary duty to the patient and to the client that you're serving. So yes, I actually collaborated with a few of them and worked with a few of them, so I kind of understood what is really happening, and it's mind-boggling as to how much they have expanded and how they have moved into these communities. So all in all, putting the interest of those that we serve should come over any monetary interest, and that's what we went into these professions for. And as a consequence, if you know the first rule in business, if you take care of the other person's needs first, your needs are met. But if you're working on meeting production goals and doing as much as you can in a day to maximize the numbers, that model is doomed to fail, and it will fail.
No, and it's interesting that you say that. I have a family member in Minnesota who had been working with an orthodontist for 30 years. And on a consistent basis, they were always talking about, I have to see more patients, I have to make more money, things. And they were focusing on that so much, they weren't seeing more patients because there were so many different variables of their practice that they were they were spinning multiple plates at any given moment. So it makes really good sense as to what you're saying.
You have to have the marketing capital to invest in your business. And with video and social media and all these things that are going on, the old timers are not catching up as fast as they need to. I mean, we have instituted the paperless movement since 2008, and I still walk into offices that are struggling to make the transition. because they don't have access to capital or their businesses are working properly. But I can tell you, I got out of dental school and I immediately purchased a practice within 6 months. And I turned it into a booming business by going to the chamber meetings, going to city hall, going to different fests in town, which the corporations didn't have a chance to compete with me. My name was, I put it everywhere. And that's what it takes. You have to do something in order to get something in exchange. And if you care about your community and you work in that capacity, in order to do so, you do need some marketing capital. And in order to get there, you need to make your business lean and efficient. And if you set your priorities right, you would be surprised how fast the money comes and how successful you will be.
And you kind of started answering my next question. And the sheer essence of this program is my goal is to showcase experts in their industry. And so often I'm hearing about a company or a product overview, but I'm not actually speaking to the individual behind the scenes who's making it all happen. And the fact that we have you here today, this is the perfect opportunity to ask you directly, what is it that makes Peer United so unique in the marketplace as it pertains to the professionals in your core audience?
It's decentralized. Our mission is to unite professionals so we can create a sustainable peer-to-peer platform in those three prongs that I discussed with you. Now, to get back to your question, what makes it so unique? We don't answer to anyone. We don't have lobbyists. The way we have designed the platform, and I gotta explain to you that I do surgery all day. So the only approach was to backtrack and see how things are set up in commerce today. And the ideas that we have put forth, and they're showing great success now, is we went back and surgically dissected everything in the supply chain to see how things happen. And then we propose solutions to every challenge that we have seen. It is our contention that if businesses, healthcare businesses, law businesses, accounting businesses, and their up and down supply chain members are controlled and administered by their professionals. Not every doctor is practicing medicine. There are doctors that are in the marketing business. There are doctors that are doing this. Now, there's always somebody in our profession that's doing something. But if we had people that would have a conscience and understand Hippocratic oaths and understand the oaths that the lawyers take and so forth and so on, administer and control those programs, you would not have to worry about these I always call them guests for the purpose of political correctness, but we wouldn't have had these guests constantly trying to steer us in the wrong direction. So it's very pertinent that we collaborate, and my belief is that the access, for instance, I've seen congressional reports. We've all seen all of these different media reports about poor healthcare, assembly line, this and that, and they will come out with the contention that says, oh, we're increasing access to healthcare. But in reality, the studies have discredited them, and it goes back to the point that outsiders that are not trained in our profession, we went to 20 plus years of school. They come in and they try to solve our professional problems. Even when they're sincere, they don't know what they're talking about, right? So a doctor will think twice before he orders the cheaper material from offshore, or the doctor will have some consulting perspective to give to another doctor and say, hey, guy, 10 years ago, I've been doing this business for 20 years. 10 years ago, I made this mistake. I don't want you to make that mistake. So hear me out, make your own decision. But it's not like a corporate management coming in the room and saying, hey, go into this room and do 2 fillings or 2 crowns if you're not meeting our daily production agenda. So can you see where there's a disconnect between what benevolence is really about in the healthcare industry versus monetary gains and satisfying investors?
And Dr. Shah, actually, I'm getting a much more clear view, not only of the issue, but it really does have to come from someone like yourself who's immersed in the day to day. So you can have those conversations because you have the experience, and it's got to be almost impossible to have it from someone who's outside the industry coming in and saying, well, this is what needs to be done here and this is what needs to be done there. So again, it's a very poignant topic of conversation that I'm sure a lot of professionals are kind of scratching their heads going, how can I be doing this better?
To go back to the centralization issue, we have created the system is driven by technology. There is no way of manipulating it, or there is no. We're six guys that have put the system together. There is no workforce behind it. We don't answer to anyone. The corporations that join us, and we have many Fortune 500s that have come on board that want to cater to the professional community, but they work for us, not the other way around. And they essentially provide their offers, and it's a free market driven model where if there is demand, if the professionals like what they see, they will purchase it. If there is no demand, your product or service is not going to make it anywhere. So essentially, there is no way to influence the system. It's decentralized, and it creates leveraged purchasing power. Now, how is this? How does it work in today's world? That's something that we need to look at. In MBA school, from the get-go, they started teaching us about globalization. They started showing us the accounting world, how the International Accounting Standard Boards is now taking over all of the accounting practices, and even the US GAAP is starting to confirm and become sort of, I wouldn't per se compliant, but to match their requirements, so the world can work in the investment world. So there's a big move towards intercontinental business. Nations are doing more business than they have ever before. So we want to seize the moment for the benefit of the professionals, because if we allow these larger multinational entities, these corporations, to have competitive strength or a competitive edge over us, it's just a matter of time before we will all be working for them, and there won't be your hometown sweet Wisconsin scenario where you had a relationship with your doctor for 20 years. It will be a different doctor likely that you're going to see because they have revolving doors of doctors. They dismiss them at there's no loyalty in that business. So you can expect a lot of changes in the next couple of decades, and it's very pertinent that we utilize technology and globalization to our benefit. And together, even if a fracture of us in our different professions unite, they don't stand a chance.
And just so I'm crystal clear, and I want to make sure that everyone who's watching this in the next 24 hours, the next 24 months, as far as who is benefiting from working with Peer United, talk about who the perfect audience is for you and how they are specifically benefiting.
So doctors is the first vertical we are working with, and accountants and attorneys. Our board has decided those are the three most important professions that will enable us to live our vision. The idea is to create leveraged purchasing power, which means that on our platforms, be it any service provider that caters to the discerning needs of doctors currently in this pilot in the United States, will be able to purchase their daily needs not only from the business perspective, but also on the consumer side, on the personal needs through the system by getting 20-30% off wherever applicable, or depending on what the offer is from the group. Now, if you take a big corporation, the big corporation goes to the manufacturer and says, hey, I want to order X amount of this. The manufacturer says, how much do you want? And the guy says, okay, I want 1,000 of these units. They say, well, wow, that's great. Sales will give you 20% off, right? That's power. That's leveraged purchasing power. Now, the little guy goes to that to the supplier or manufacturer. He's not going to get that. He's not going to get anything remotely that. They're going to say you're going to pay sticker price. So now we're going to the manufacturers and saying, hey, we're going to bring you lots of doctors as independent sole proprietors and attorneys and accountants. Why don't you give them the same deal as you give to the corps? We bring you the volume, we eliminate your customer acquisition expenses, and as a consequence, you afford discounts to our colleagues. Now the level of competition is leveled to a point where we can compete against these guys. And now we can take those savings and invest it into our personal needs, into our marketing, our business, and so forth. So the professionals that have taken advantage of this is the constant response that we're getting. Oh, there's a lot more money left over at the end of the month. We're pumping more into marketing our business, and it's working.
And let's say you have a couple thousand doctors who are actively, okay, they're liking what they're hearing. They see the incentives. What is the benefit for joining or working with Peer United now? Because there'll be some people out there saying, yeah, I like it, but I'm going to wait a month or two. And I'm really sensing the fact that the number of options you have when it comes to kind of overall practice improvement, there's a lot of things going on. So why would someone wait, in essence, to be a part of this? Are you seeing that happening, and what are you saying to that?
Certainly not. At this point, we're signing up a lot of people here in the US and also from many different countries around the world that are contacting us, professionals. I wouldn't particularly wait because I don't know how long we can afford this membership at no discount. I mean, for free, because we want these professionals to join and benefit from these discounts and translate that into their business. We're not charging membership at all for our colleagues at this time. But as you know, as you grow larger and as you need more marketing dollars, which we will need soon to get to our colleagues, we will have to come up with that somehow. So we can do it through investments, we can do it through membership cost. At some point in time, it's not going to be free. So it's very wise to join now and benefit from this as we are getting larger and our needs are increased to service the professional community.
Okay. And for a second here, let's pretend that I'm an orthodontist and I'm 18 months out of school. How is it that I get in touch with you? How do I get involved with Peer United, and what's that process like?
It's very simple. We have operationally currently 22 websites going. The hub being peerbrands.com, peerbrands.com, and peersclub.com. Now, those two access points, if you don't have a code, you can only get a code if you're a professional. There's a button that says how you can get the code. You click it, it takes you to a different site. You fill out six fields, very simple fields. We just want to make sure that you are a professional and you are who you say you are. And within minutes, you have a code in your mailbox, which will make you more powerful than any corporation on earth. This code will give you access to an array of benefits. We have created over 5,000 companies have come in and have given discounts, various local, national, international. And also some of our partners like Visa and MasterCard, particularly MasterCard, has extended their top line product, the World Elite program, for lawyers and doctors and other verticals that we're exploring with them, which will allow us to carry this message even further with a vehicle to other countries once we have proven the concept to work. And eventually, we would like to see this corral into a nice, back to that sentence that I told you earlier, dynamic peer-to-peer platform where we only have professionals, we seek guidance from experts, and not be in a position where our independent judgment is influenced by third parties and hedge funds and management groups and lobbyists and politicians and such. And it can be achieved. The vision can be very well achieved, considering the technological advancements of the world today.
And you had mentioned third party just a quick second ago. As it pertains to vendors and Peer United, how does all that come together? If I am currently working with someone and I like your program better, is there some sort of kind of cohesive nature where I can utilize things, or how are you working with vendors right now?
The vendors is a different scenario. Normally, depending if it's a manufacturer or a supplier, we have different arrangements with them because they have different margins. We look at their margins and say, okay, this group can possibly afford X amount of dollars in discounts to our membership that we can extend to them. And a fraction of that goes to us to fund the operations. So the vendors come to us and they look at us and say, hey, we spend so much money in marketing and advertising. These guys have the membership. We can cater to their members and not have that expense. And as a consequence, we negotiate with them. And within a very short period of time, we reach a conclusion. And if they agree, they will get added to this rewards program that I briefly mentioned, where we have those 5,000 plus companies. So it's a case-by-case negotiation. The bottom line is that there has to be substantial discount to a professional, or we're not interested.
Well, it's interesting. I'm glad I asked that, because I was thinking of it from a different perspective, but you brought it back to the vendor side, which actually now it's a lot more clear for even a gentleman like myself. And I know it's going to be more clear for your core audience and the doctors and the attorneys who are perfect for a program like this. And speaking of a program like this, what are you seeing on a national level, on a world level? What is out there like Peer United for the professionals?
We have seen like bar associations and medical societies that randomly might offer a credit card, or they might offer discount in their malpractice insurance, and we learned from that. However, a lot of these associations I've noticed are sort of influenced by these guests and through marketing and advertising dollars and whatever else they promote for them. So we learned from what they have been able to achieve, and we have translated it into the most comprehensive system imaginable for the professional. Not random things. We're literally talking about the vast majority of things that you can probably think of a doctor would need, or an accountant or lawyer would need, or other professionals bundled up into this rewards program. So you will have your malpractice, you will have your patient financing, your doctor financing, you will have your student loan refinancing, you will have access to capital, be it on the commercial side if you want to buy a practice and you need working capital, or on the consumer side you need to lend to patients so you can increase the revenues coming to your office, or be it you want to go to Costco, or you want to go to get health insurance, or you want to get insurance for disability or life, and down the line it goes. And there is particularly no limitations to the amount of capabilities we now have in catering the professional community.
And prior to us talking today, I did my due diligence and I did my research on Peer United, and I found a number of fantastic articles as it pertains to what the professionals are seeking, what their experience is. So obviously, hats off to you on that, because the reviews are fantastic. Coming from yourself, once again, from the gentleman who started it all, interior of the company, what are you seeing when you're talking and when you're showcasing the concepts here?
I'm seeing a world of professionals who have rightfully got educated and have the right intentions in mind for human civilization, to take a great voice in the advancements of our professions, have a strong voice in it. I urge them to always stay independent and do not allow any third party to influence your independent judgment. I would tell them to increase their business acumen and save wherever they can without compromising quality. Is key to not compromise quality. This is not what we went the profession for. We had better intentions before the monetary concept came around. And I want to very emphasize that uniting our peers, hence Peer United, is a big vision. And to a certain degree, we already are doing this in smaller capacities. Not we, but professionals in general. But think of it that no time in history have we been able to utilize what we have at our disposal to bring us all together, not as competitors, but as collaborators. That is how we will solve a lot of the world's problems, in my belief.
Oh, and it's interesting. You have to have that world vision. And I've talked to a number of small business owners, and I asked them, so, what's your goal? And a lot of them, you kind of sit back in your chair and like, okay, you want to completely revolutionize how business is done. I mean, that's just a quick example, but I believe you have to have the lofty goals that you have, and you have to have the initiatives in place and the platforms to say, okay, we can handle this for you. I've been here. I have the expertise. I have the technology, which is really important, and the relationships that you have with credit card companies like MasterCard and Visa. That speaks volumes, number one. And in scheduling our interview today, I was talking with your people, and I know you've got surgery this afternoon, so we scheduled for about 30 minutes, and we're almost there. So I want to respect your time. With regard to final question, you've got 10 seconds on the clock. What would you say to someone who is seriously considering looking at Peer United and taking their practice in a completely different direction?
It's us, the technicians, that solve the world's problems. not lobbyists, not politicians, not third parties. It should be the technicians that have the lead on these issues in society. I would say, come help us and enable you and enable the professional community. We can get it accomplished. And I wish my colleagues the best in the next decades to come, as we are undergoing a major change in the way business is done around the world. And I sincerely hope that they are in with line with what's happening in terms of globalization, regulations, intercontinental business, and that they educate themselves in business as much as possible to stay independent.
Fantastic. And last but not least, one more time, how can people get a hold of you and Peer United?
I urge them to, if they directly want to get the code and register, go to Peers Union, PeersUnion.com, and there'll be a quick set of instructions on how to become a member. There will be no cost to you, and our idea is to make you more powerful than any corporation in the world. And I want to say, Peers Union, we are nothing like a union, your conventional union. We're not involved with any politics. It's a union for profession, for the sake of the same word, what it means, a union. We are a union of people that come together to advance the professions.
Well, Dr. Shah, number one, thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. You've really given us a great insight as to not only what it takes to be successful in your industry, but also taking a look at the perspective of the financial platform moving forward, which is so important, but more often than not, sometimes not talked about as it should be. And I think the Peer United platform and the ideology is absolutely fantastic. So from all of us here at Omnia Digital Media, and of course, Take Flight, thanks again for coming by. And in the future, when the schedules come together again, I'd love to have you back on the show. You're a great guest. And like I said, we're always talking with experts, and you are one of those guys who are really changing things. And obviously, thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'd be happy to join you down the road again so we can report on our progress and see if you have accomplished something good in the world.
Fantastic. I look forward to that as well. Thanks again, everyone. We'll see you next time.